Guys, how are you?
Hello, how are you, Brian?
I'm good. I wanted to start off with a simple enough question. It's the
We'll be the
apocalypse.
judge of that.
Well, all right. It's the apocalypse. Your family have survived. You have survived. Everyone's in great health. You now have to, all your kind of, I guess, faculties are still with you. What three things are you saving in the apocalypse? Small things, knickknacks. I'm thinking like a key ring, possibly a painting, maybe a book. I don't know. What are you saving?
You say.
Oh God. Okay. Well, then let's talk about that. Okay. I would uh a movable feast. I'd take that book.
Mm.
Sure.
There's a piece of art that I have that I would absolutely take. And there's a Baluch rug that I'm madly in love with. Yeah. How about? You know what? I would take a record player, man,
Oh yeah.
and some vinyl. I definitely want that
Anything
along the
specific?
ride. Oh God, okay. Well, we listen to a lot of albums at home. I guess the one that I could listen to for the rest of my life is the soundtrack to Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, Bob
Nice.
Dylan.
Yeah.
How about that?
Good
That kind of
choice.
fits in this world.
It's
Oh,
perfect.
yeah.
Perfect for this
Yeah,
world.
this world. I'm much more commonplace. I would make sure that I had a coffee machine first and foremost, essential, because then I would become the most popular person in the neighborhood,
You would.
honestly.
Yeah.
Aaron picked that as well. He picked an AeroPress. He'd said he'd bring an AeroPress with him.
Oh, very nice. I'm simple French press man. Yeah, so I appreciate that. Good coffee, good filtered coffee would be nice. Since I guess I can't take my wife or my son.
Well, they're
But-
safe. They're fine.
They're
No,
with
they're
you.
with me. Oh, it's perfect. So then I'm gonna have to get something for him. So he had to
No, he can do his own thing.
really? And I was
His
thinking
own
we could
thing.
get a surfboard because he loves to surf. So
Yeah.
and maybe we'll bring it and maybe I could learn to surf.
In an irradiated sea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's an incentive not to fall, that's for sure.
that's true.
And good Lord.
Stay on the board.
Don't get off the board. Don't get out of the boat and don't get off the board.
Paddling out is
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah. And we have to bring a fishing pole because you just never know what you're going to catch. What does that radiation do to the sea? What lives there? We don't know. Be curious. Interesting to
Let's
find
hope
out.
we don't know.
Let's really hope we don't.
Yeah.
True.
Walton, I saw you on Seth Meyers, and I know you kind of talked about Chris Christopherson as being a sort of an influence for the ghoul. But when I was watching you, Kyle, it almost kind of seemed like you just walked out of like a Camelot era White House. I mean, was that kind of what you were going for, or was there something specific you had in mind?
Yes.
As specific as Walton had for Chris Christopherson?
Robert Goulet was my inspiration. And the only reason I say that is looking at your hair,
It's
it's
pretty.
very Goulet inspirational. Yeah, I'm very jealous.
I used to have a mustache as well, so I would
Oh.
proper,
No, I like, yeah. But you look that sharp, very sharp.
Super cool top.
So Robert Goulet, wow, okay, right, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. Just came to my mind. I wasn't thinking that at all, but I thought it would be an interesting answer.
Yeah.
It is. It's a good answer.
Camelot. Come
Camelot.
on.
I mean, that's what I said. I said Camelot. Yeah, I was
You
thinking.
did.
But,
You did. You're to blame. Okay.
That's- I'll take that. A question that I guess I've pitched to everybody, and I'd love to get your take on it, is considering that, we're kind of, I guess, maybe there's an element of narcissism to this, but it does seem like we are living in a pretty dangerous time. Environmental degradation, all the rest of it, and popular culture, like you've Alex Garland's Civil Wars in cinemas as well this week as well. I mean, does any of that, I suppose, kind of weigh on you, the fact that you're taking part in this story that is about the end of the world and about the world after, I guess? Does any of that kind of play on your mind, the fact that we may potentially be living in a possible pre-apocalyptic scenario right now?
Yeah, I very much so. And those are conversations that we've had kind of behind the scenes since since this started. This show, when they started writing this show, it was in 2019. When it all kind of came together, and this reality seemed like a distant memory. It was something of the past. Obviously, over the last 3 years, the world has changed dramatically, and it's very much at the forefront of people's experience, the possibility. So much so that there was God. Now there have been 3 or 4 articles, but about very wealthy people building or
Shelters, yeah.
protecting these vault dwellings. One that I read in the Guardian, oh God, right when we were filming it, and it was a conversation that took place at the desert in California, and it's scary, you know, it really is scary, and in some ways it's gotten a little too close to home. Hopefully on some level, you know, the way in which we talk about these things that are so pertinent now, it's a little easier to swallow because the humor is subversive and satirical, and maybe it'll allow us to continue this conversation a little easier, you know, more palatable to talk about these very, very difficult themes.
It makes it even more immediate. We both have kids. I don't know about yourself, but when you bring children into the mix and their future, it becomes very, very, very in your face, very prominent, very important to understand what's going on.
You know, I didn't think this would ever happen, but I have a 13-year-old, and I'm going to say 6 or 7 months ago, he came in and he was distraught. He was upset from school, and it wasn't something that he heard about at school, but we talk politics in front of him all the time. But he had the fear in his eyes that I remember having in my eyes, the feeling that I had when I asked my mother about nuclear bombs and what's the likelihood of that happening. And it's, you know, it's a very scary time. And
was that like after, like the day after? Remember that movie, The Day After, with John Lithgow? I mean, I remember that was a big deal in the 80s. Like, I mean, was that specifically what brought it up, do you think? Or?
I don't know that it was that movie specifically, or that experience is television, right?
Yeah,
exactly. But it was just the hiding under the desk, right? It was all the drills that we had to do, and it's you know, these are weapons that the world will end. I mean, here it is, and I think that's really, God, all I can say, because I'd get into a deep political discussion, and I'm not going to do that. Yeah.
Everyone wants to save the world. They just agree on how.